Welcome to Fearless Journeys Thriving on Campus. I am Corrine Jansen, one of your co-hosts.
And I'm your other co-host, Steve Johnson. It's good to be here, and it's good to be able to talk about this wonderful topic. What is it?
Yeah, so our topic today, bridging cultures, building connections, mental health and community in post-secondary life.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of those big categories that we love talking about. And we're that dates me a little bit. We're recording this because we're coming up to Black History Month, and we want to make sure that we have some relevant information. So I want to introduce our guests, Carol and Adrian. Carol, let's tell me something about yourself.
Hello, my name is Carol Amaku-Kwesi, and I'm truly honored to be on this podcast today. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, so I'm an international student from Ghana, specifically from Takoradi, and I'm currently in my second year and my second semester of the Bachelor of Nursing program at Lethbridge Polytechnic. And I'm also one of the student representatives for the Lethbridge Polytechnic Students Association, LPSA, where, I advocate for my friends and I help build like a supportive student community.
Yes. Very busy.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, nursing in itself is a busy program, and then you're adding all this other stuff. And you're from Ghana. I've got some great friends from Ghana. It's wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. Adrian, what about you?
Hello, good morning. My name is Adrian Allen. I am originally from Jamaica. I've been living in the territories for a few years now, and I'm currently studying criminal justice at Lethbridge Polytechnic. I am excited to participate in this podcast and very eager to delve into the many insightful conversations that we'll have throughout.
Awesome. And you're also one of our student ambassadors. So
yes.
Yeah, very busy for you too. Our CJ program is, again, one of our busiest programs.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
So let's get into it. Let's start by talking about how culture shapes our view on mental health. Carol, how do you see cultural values influencing how people perceive mental health and seek help?
Okay, thank you for this question. So culture has a very big impact on how people see mental health, okay, and whether they feel comfortable asking for help or not. In some cultures, talking about mental health is completely normal and getting help is seen as a very good thing. But in others, they believe that they should handle it on their own or they should seek help from their family members. For example, people see mental health as like a spiritual issue. Like if you have mental health problems, they see it as a spiritual issue. So they may go to like maybe religious leaders or spiritual leaders or pastors instead of like doctors. I have no issue or I have nothing against that. That's what they believe in. That's what has been passed on from generation to generation. That's their thoughts. That's what they think, okay? So I have no thing against their beliefs. But then it can be harder for them if they don't like also seek professional help as well. But starting more open conversations about mental health can help change that. And in one culture, seeking therapy might be seen as a positive step, while in another, it might be seen as maybe very unnecessary, time-wasting, or you might even feel very embarrassed to go and speak to someone else about your issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Adrian, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
How culture shapes our view on mental health is in a negative way. Black people's mental health has always been undermined and overlooked. This dates back to, systemic racism, the underrepresentation of our own Black community advocating for a fair and precise mental health that welcomes and prioritizes all. Now, as we celebrate Black History Month, it is important to everyone to recognize the barriers that Blacks face in accessing mental health treatment.
Yeah, so we're at one point we're looking at some cultures talk about mental health quite freely and some don't. It can become a spiritual thing. Yeah. And then there's that whole stigma piece and part about racism, right?
Yes.
We definitely will still see that. And in Canada, I hope that it's better, but yes. I understand that having children of color, it definitely is still out there. There's lots of racism out there. So mental health definitely is a big topic.
So this is for both of you, whoever would like to go first. Why do you think that these cultural perceptions persist?
Okay, so honestly, I think these cultural perceptions stick around because, as I said earlier, they are part of like people's traditions and beliefs, and people learn from their family members and from their communities, okay? And these ideas are passed down from one generation to the next, and they become like a normal way of thinking. Okay, and also before I even continue, culture can change, and culture is also like can also not change or static, or however you would like to rephrase that. Okay, so like sometimes changing the way people think might actually be very difficult. Okay, yes, and for example, in some cultures, people believe they can handle problems on their own.
Yeah.
That's like, yes, one thing. People actually really believe they can handle their own issues on their own. And so they see asking for help as a sign of weakness. Okay. And these beliefs continue because they are taught at home and in their community, and people may not even have the chance to see things differently or are afraid of losing their cultural traditions. And also, as a nursing student, I've observed that this can make people less likely to seek professional help, even when it's needed, because they fear being judged or misunderstood by their community. I don't know when I'm talking very fast, but then that's how I talk.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Good, yeah.
You bet. You bet. Adrian, would you like to comment on that too?
I would say that it also has to do with intergenerational trauma associated with slavery. These historical events have left an impactful mark on how mental health is often perceived within the Black community.
So there's an element of trust there.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. So how do you think students can challenge these cultural stigmas then?
Well, I think they can, talk openly about these mental health issues that they are maybe experiencing or facing, and if we can like create more safe spaces for people to like feel more I feel like at Lethbridge Polytechnic we already have like these resources available, okay, but then some people don't know that we have these resources available, okay, but then if they get to know that, okay, we have like this awareness service, this at LPSA, yeah, it's more like we are creating like safe spaces where people will feel supported, and sharing facts about mental health can help break the myths and show that getting help is important as treating physical health. So for example, I'm going to always use being a nursing student as an example, okay? So for example, as a nursing student, I could actually like organize or maybe collaborate with some people to like organize in some events and maybe teach people about mental health. But I think wellness service is already doing that. But then I can also like collaborate with wellness service and also help speak to people about mental health and maybe invite people to come and speak about their experiences. And this can actually normalize conversations and slowly change how people think about mental health.
So a lot of education pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Adrian, when we're thinking about challenging cultural stigmas, and you were talking about intergenerational trauma. Thank you. Do you have any insights on breaking that stigma?
One such solution would be for campuses to create safe spaces for opportunities of open communication. One such example here is the wellness services here at Lethbridge Polytechnic, who provides students with one-on-one counseling with a trained counselor who will guide them through their problems or situations that they may face within mental health.
Awesome, and I appreciate you both mentioned wellness services because that's where we work.
Well, and I think
nice.
Yes, absolutely wellness services, but I think you both made the point, like it's not just us. Sometimes it's when it comes from other students, like both of you talking to your peers. I think sometimes that has more impact than me and Steve.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
that's
awesome.
kind of ties right into our next category, is that connection piece, right? So how has building relationships with people from different backgrounds impacted your sense of belonging?
Building relationships with people from different backgrounds has helped me feel more connected and accepted, because it shows that we can all learn from and feel supported, okay, from each other, no matter where you come from. So being an international student and a nursing student as well, I can relate with everyone, not just because I'm also the student rep, but then because I understand what it's like to like adapt, connect, find common ground in a new environment, adapt to the winter, adapt to like school, new accents, like all those things. And it also makes like the community feel like a place where everyone is valued. Yeah, and through these connections, I've learned a lot and I've grown as a person as well.
That's awesome.
Adrian, how about you?
It has had an everlasting impact on my sense of belonging. Building relationships with diverse backgrounds has shown me that our humanity is more powerful than our cultural differences. My experience connecting with diverse students shows me that the wealth of diversity that stems from being in a community where everyone's unique story is welcome. Building relationships has also taught me that belonging is embracing each individual and creating, open spaces where students can show their true self.
Great. And, you mentioned there is a huge shift when you're changing cultures. And like you said, you're coming from Jamaica and you come from Ghana. There's a lot of differences you have to kind of go through, right? Do you think maybe some of those cultural differences can sometimes make those connections harder then?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, yes, it can really make these connections, or it can make all these things very hard, because as an international student, I've really felt this. But with time and being open, we can learn from each other and can build like stronger connections. Because when I first arrived here, I actually struggled to even understand some of the social customs, the way you guys communicate. You understand, like, we all have like different accents, and being in class, the accent is like listening to your instructor who has like a completely different accent. It's actually like makes like connection very hard. But then, however, by talking to like classmates, asking questions, connecting with other students, I began to like understand more and connect better with others. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. And Adrian, how do you think, for you, how that's made connections? Has it made it quite hard?
Oh, yes. When I first came to Canada and I went to my first high school here, I was shocked at the Canadian culture. The many different things that I see, it's very different from what would otherwise occur in my country. And I think it has a lot to do with Canada not being discriminatory towards its citizens, which I really appreciate. So, yeah.
What do you think, Adrian, was like the toughest cultural change that you had to go through?
I think it's adapting to the cold here.
Yeah. Big change. Carol, you too? Or?
Well, so back home, most of the time, I don't know whether I'm deviating from the question, but then back home, mostly on Sundays, we eat a particular type of food. So I feel like it's more like culture, because culture is the way, people live, the way of life of a group of people. And then, coming to Canada, not eating most of the food that I'm used to eating, I feel like it's also like a very big change. And also the weather. I'm not used to the weather. I've been here for a year and some months now. I'm still not used to the weather.
Especially when it was minus 25 the other day.
Well, I've been here my whole life and I'm still not. So, I mean, sometimes it really sucks.
Yeah, it can get it can change quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, my other friend from Ghana, I keep telling her I'm going to make some jollof for her, but I never do. And one of these days, I'm sure I'm going to. For sure.
In case you do some, please invite me.
Okay.
I'll come and eat.
Absolutely.
Add egg.
Okay.
I think that this place, it's like everyone has the friend, okay, or the friends he or she works with. So when you come here, it's like you're more like the third wheel. So it also makes connection very hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, when I went to my first high school here in Canada, as Carol said, I found it really hard, networking with other students in high school. And it is when I got really involved in, like school opportunities, connecting with the audiovisual music teacher and, in setting up for events and so forth and volunteering at different basketball games and so forth. That is when I realized that my social network has expanded, so I could connect with more people and, yeah.
Yeah, so being involved in different activities definitely will increase the connection.
Yeah, finding those common interests. Yeah. So our next question for you both: what are some ways students can intentionally build diverse connections?
By participating in events. We have this event coming up, Black History Month, this February, and then I feel like people actually think it's just for like African students or people with color, okay? But then it's actually for everyone. You can come and pass by, come and get like free food, come and make friends, come and see how we dress in our country, back home, in our countries. Yes, and it's not just for like African students, it's for everyone. And attending these events helps like build your connections, okay? You don't know where you're going to meet someone. And joining clubs, organizations, engaging in like open conversations with people from various backgrounds, and also volunteering, like Adrian said, volunteering for like activities that promotes like diversity, or attending workshop on cultural awareness can be helpful in building these connections or friendships. You don't know, maybe you might meet your future husband or wife somewhere.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. College is one of those places that happens for sure. Adrian?
So some ways that students can build diverse connections is emerging from their comfort zones and engaging with diverse students on campus. You know, there are many different clubs and societies here, such as the Leo Club, where students can volunteer at charity events and so forth. Volunteering on campus, there are many on-campus opportunities that are available to students that they can partake in to increase their social networks. Also with other diverse students, active participation in class discussions, can also build that connection. Asking questions, diverse students' questions, being conscious of their culture shows those students your desire to learn about their experiences.
Yeah, I've always found that too, just asking a lot of questions in the students we talk to, and kind of just that showing of genuine interest in knowing about what their culture is like. And I think that's a great way to build connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So switching gears a little bit, speaking about cultural differences, what challenges do you both see for international and racialized students when it comes to mental health?
For international students, challenges related to like mental health often stem from cultural differences, from language barriers, and sense of isolation, okay? And I'm going to like explain why I said these three things. And these students may face like difficulty in seeking support due to like the stigma around mental health in their home countries, or they might feel like disconnected or misunderstood from the resources available, okay? And these like international students also like experience maybe discrimination. Maybe they've already experienced discrimination before, and so they don't want to experience it again. And so adding to stress and feelings of like isolation or something. And additionally, the pressure to fit into a new environment while balancing academic work can also lead to like stress. So I said cultural differences, and I said language barriers, and I also said like a sense of isolation. So when you come to like a new country, of course, you're here alone. You come like alone. Some people actually come with their family members, but then not everyone comes with their family members, okay? So you're here alone. Of course, you're going to like feel alone, okay? You have to like do most of the things on your own. You have to like try and find most of the things on your own with like few help or limited resources, okay? This can also like create like stress and bring about mental health issues, and yeah, you become depressed and you don't even know what to do, because you know what? I'm here to survive. I have to like do what I came here to do. I'm not going to like ask for help. And so you become your stress and try to like still make ends meet, which is not possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Adrian, you mentioned coming for high school. Did you come from Jamaica with your family?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so do you feel that you found kind of that same feeling of homesickness?
Oh, yes. Within the first few weeks of arriving, we started to show symptoms, like flu-like symptoms, I believe, mm-hmm. because in Jamaica, the weather there, the climate rather, is very hot. Mm-hmm. So coming here in a cold country really affected us at first, but then over time we got familiar with it and adjusted.
And what challenges do you think that you've seen for those international racialized students? What do you think?
The current support system undermines its purpose in supporting racialized and international students' mental health. It is often overlooked and ignored by, all levels of government who have authority over it. For international students, the thought of being distanced from your home country to attain your education in these foreign countries leads to severe depression and, as we just talked about, homesickness. Racialized students face similar circumstances such as discrimination. Additionally, the pressure to adjust in the foreign cultural norm and practices while struggling to maintain their own leads to a sense of invisibility, not being recognized by others. All of this has led to high college dropouts and homelessness, worst case scenario, drug and alcohol abuse, among other consequences. I am strongly urging student unions to play an integral role in advocating for improved mental health program for students and fostering environments where students feel a sense of inclusivity.
And Corrine, we definitely see a lot of that pressure to excel. Right?
Yeah, because you've come here for an education and that means something. And we do hear that quite a bit, that students aren't seeking help maybe because the mental health is a stigma, or they feel that pressure to push through.
And do you feel, Adrian, like there's kind of an expectation to kind of represent your community or make your family proud? Is there that kind of expectation there?
Well, for sure, I'll make my family proud, and there's that expectation for that. But otherwise than that, I don't think there's any force or pressure to make my country proud or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay. And so do you think any of these pressures that we've been talking about really impact your academic performance?
Okay, yes. So these pressures can affect how students do well in school. Okay. So when students feel very stressed, lonely, they face discrimination or racism, it's very hard for you to focus on your work and even keep up with your studies. Okay. This might lead to low grades, missing school, especially if you don't have the support needed. Okay. And for example, if an international student is dealing with homesickness and struggling to adjust to a new culture, they might find it very hard to even focus during class or complete assignments on time. Because I've missed my mom, why am I even doing assignments?
Yeah.
Yes, and their stress and emotional burden can distract them from studying, leading to, as I said, low grades. And without support or a sense of belonging, their mental health may continue to impact their academic performance. And some people would actually want to maybe seek help, and they'll be like, God, today I'm going to honest service to seek help. If you don't want me to do, please give me a sign. And then when they step out from their house, they slip and they fall. That's a sign.
Yeah. And it could be anything.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about how some of these pressures affect academic performance?
I think you spoke to this with the last question you mentioned about addictions and isolation and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it eventually would have led up to, high college dropout rates. If we have looked on the news, we have seen, international students wanting to, go home, back home and stuff, because the pressures that they face here is affecting their academic performance, which can have an impact also on their good standing with Canada, because they come here for a reason. So, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely that focus kind of just falls away sometimes.
Well, and that makes sense. When you are experiencing a lot of pressure and stress, your brain doesn't have the availability to work on academics. So, yeah. So our next question, what role do you think campus communities can play in easing these challenges for students?
We believe that campus communities can play those in easing those challenges by creating an inclusive environment where all diverse students can be their true selves, This can be accomplished by fostering a sense of openness and understanding where all diverse students are encouraged to share their perspectives. Providing the spaces for such, regardless of the source, can help, students feel more connected, and that will also reduce their fears of isolation and so forth. As I mentioned before, all post-secondary campuses should ensure that mental health services are being offered to students, especially the diverse students, with trained guidance counselors who are ready to address the systematic and unique challenges faced by them.
Yeah, I also think campus communities can also play a big role by offering support and creating a welcoming environment. For example, providing resources like counseling services, peer support groups, and cultural events can help students feel understood and less isolated. But you know what? I know that we have all these things on campus, Lethbridge Polytechnic, but then people don't really know about these resources that we have. And it would be nice for people to actually maybe ask questions, maybe come and see some of the reps for directions as to where to go, and then we will be more than willing to point them in the right direction. And when students also have have a safe space where they can connect to other people who share similar experiences or feel accepted, it makes a huge difference in their mental well-being and academic success. Even if you maybe go to this safe space and you don't really have a student who also has this similar issue, of course you're going to have a professional who will be able to listen to you and help you. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, peer support, mentorship programs and such. And of course, for yourself, the Lethbridge Polytechnic Student Association, all the work you're doing there, I'm sure is increasing the amount of cultural awareness around. Yeah.
Looking at cultural sensitivity, mental health resources should reflect cultural nuances. Carol, what do you think makes a mental health resource culturally sensitive?
So a culturally sensitive mental health resource should respect and understand everyone's traditions, beliefs, values. Okay, because we are all from different places and we all have different things that we believe in. And it should feel familiar, okay, and it should be very comfortable to people from these backgrounds. I feel we actually have all these things. As I said, I keep saying this. We have all these things on campus.
Adrian, what do you think?
What makes a mental health resource culturally sensitive is one that acknowledges the diverse background of its intended audience, which is the campus students. Reiterating my previous point, hiring counselors who specialize in mental health services and practices, and qualified to understand the cultural differences that can affect how people perceive mental health. Most cultural beliefs shape how people express emotional distress and mental illness. A culturally sensitive resource rather takes this into consideration and adjusts its approach to meet those needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a sense, having representation as well.
Yes.
Makes a huge difference. Yeah. So what's one change you'd like to see in how campuses approach cultural sensitivity?
I'd wish campuses focus on educating students on how to understand and respect people from different backgrounds, okay? Hosting these workshops or creating these events Black History Month and other events for everyone to attend and everyone to feel included, not just Africans or not just Canadians, but then everyone. So I'd wish that everyone would just be involved in everything. Make friends, build connections, and not just make friends because you are from the same country, but then make friends because we are all people and you don't know where you're going to meet that person.
No, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Adrian, how about you?
One change that I'd like to see is campus leaders ensuring that cultural sensitivity training is integrated into their, different staff and professional development meetings. Student leaders should also equip themselves with the knowledge to understand the cultural differences. That is a major factor and influence in how students perceive mental health resources. This means, going beyond initiatives and ensuring that all staff are actively learning how to foster that sense of inclusivity in all campus spaces. When we create an environment with cultural sensitivity at the core, we are removing the barriers for diverse students who might feel overlooked, making them feel supported and welcomed.
Yeah, it's a great point. Education of staff and faculty would be a huge thing.
Yes.
And even working on policies and procedures and having, like you said, that inclusivity in there.
Yes.
Thank you for your suggestions. So looking at things that we can do, Adrian, what's one thing that students can do to create connection?
One suggestion would be, students reaching out to their respective academic advisors or the wellness services staff, as we mentioned before. All these supports and more are available on campus and ready to support us with mental health and connect us with on and off campus resources, active engagement with other diverse students. It is imperative for campuses to create spaces where diverse students feel a sense of connections, to share their thoughts, and this starts with being open-minded. When students rely on each other, it builds that level of trust, which is the foundation of any supportive communities. Other actions like a kind gesture or supporting one of the students in their times of struggle can have a huge impact in creating that culture of inclusion.
And Carol, what's one thing that you think students can do?
I think students can get involved in activities, diverse groups, clubs, communities, not just schoolwork, because even in class, you just sit down, maybe go for a break, talk to one person or something. But then when you engage in activities, you join a club, you get to meet people, you get to maybe go for, I don't know whether you guys do excursions or something, but then you get to go for these field trips, you get to meet people. So basically, I just getting friends, building connections, open conversations from people with people from different backgrounds and different cultures, learning their way of life, learning why they do what they do, that kind of thing. So I feel just getting involved in these activities and events in school would actually it's one thing I would personally want students to do, or students can do.
And just kind of sharing your stories with others. Right?
Yeah.
I think it makes huge connection.
Yes, that's very true. Because sometimes when you share your story, maybe you're actually feeling very shy to walk into, for example, wellness service, You're feeling very shy to walk into, or maybe you don't even know that there's a particular resource that you can get from wellness service, But then just by speaking with people, they can actually direct you and be I know that they offer this kind of help at wellness service. So just speaking with people, building connections, that's one thing I would actually really advise people to do.
Thank you. What about campus leaders? How can campus leaders encourage inclusivity?
By organizing more programs or more events, I think, yes, organizing more cultural awareness programs this Black History Month we'll be having soon, ensuring diverse representation in decision making, because even when you look at the student reps, we are not all from one country. We have people from Kenya, from Jamaica, from Ghana, from Nigeria, and even Canadians, and even creating safe spaces where everyone feels valued and feels heard. This will encourage inclusivity, if I got the word right. Yes, so we have all types of people, or we have different people from different ethnic groups doing something. So it's going to encourage people to also get involved, because you know what, I'm Nigerian and I have a Nigerian friend who is maybe a student rep. I'm going to attend this program because he's going to be there. I'm going to make more friends. I'm going to make more Nigerian friends. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm not Nigerian, I'm Ghanaian.
Yeah, I was going, hold on a second. You said you're Ghanaian. Adrian, what about you? What do you think that campus leaders might do to encourage that inclusivity?
As I would have, previously mentioned, fostering an environment where all diverse students feel included, strengthening existing policies on campus that support marginalized backgrounds, creating additional spaces on campus for openness about culture, and ensuring that the current relevant resources are readily available to all students. When campus leaders play an active role in this, they can inspire their colleagues at other institutions to do the same and build a campus that prioritizes these cultures in every aspect.
And as we're coming to the end of our episode, we want to thank you both, Carol and Adrian, for sharing your experiences and your wisdom with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me on this podcast and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and experiences. Please invite me again. I'd like to come and do this again.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
before the semester ends.
Okay.
So anyone listening, remember that building a connected and understanding community starts with small and intentional actions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to participate in, this podcast on addressing and pressing issues on mental health among diverse students. Steve and Corrine, I look forward to a future impactful podcast.
That's great. And we really do appreciate you being here, and it's great having you. So as we celebrate Black History Month, let's honor the power of diversity and connection. So to all our listeners, take a moment this week to build bridges with someone new. Celebrate those differences that make our community stronger. And remember that connection is a key to positive mental health.
We challenge you to take one actionable step towards inclusivity. This could be attending a cultural event, starting a conversation with someone from a different background, or share this episode with a friend. Let's create a culture of belonging together.
You mentioned because Black History Month is this February, we have some great events coming up. Our campus is having a Black History Month Jeopardy. I believe there's a meal pickup where they're doing Jamaican peas and rice, which is fun, yeah, right? Dance class, there'll be a story time, braiding, fashion show, and then there's going to be a big closing ceremony and dance party, which I missed last year, but I heard it was a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as these are the things that are happening this February, but every February we do something for Black History Month. So check that out if you're listening to this in the future. And don't forget to check out campus mental health resources. They're here for you. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, share it with your community, and let's keep the conversation going.
Remember, listeners, every connection starts with a simple hello. So let's build a better, more inclusive campus together. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Fearless Journeys Thriving on Campus.